Howdy folks, and welcome back to my Metal Gear Solid The Phantom Pain FOB Defense video set. So today we're talking about a little bit more advanced strategies. I had some feedback come in from me from some other players, and thank you guys very much. I definitely appreciate your feedback. And one of the things that they let me know about was a good reminder about ghosting. So let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to press Y, and this is the same thing that an attacker would do. And your character is going to be invisible for a little bit. And if you watch a lot of the online videos, you're going to notice that they'll do a sprint while they're invincible and slightly invisible through your platform and usually do a dive at the end. So the first strategy we're going to actually talk about today is possibly putting a mine there at the end of the dive. Let me show you what that looks like. A lot of people, when they land, they start their sprint. Here we go. I'm not very good at this. I don't do this very often, but here we go. Start their sprint. They go, run, 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 dive, boom. All right, I've put a bunch of defenders on this side, but it depends on where their starting position is. A lot of them will actually start here and do it, and that way they're that much closer to the edge of your platform. All right, but that's the idea. They come up, running, they'll do their dive, boom. And some people have already liked to put mines right where they calculate a snake type intruder would want to be, and want to try to cut through. So here's one of the first philosophies we're talking about. In the first video, we talked about that there's only three places you can really count on an attacker being. The first is their starting area, the second is the choke points, and the third is the the core of your base. From what I've been reading online, and I'm agreeing more and more with those strategies and kind of breaking away from what I said in my first attempt at this video, is that a lot of players, if they're coming in here as an FOB attacker, they already have their plan in mind. They are ready to attack your base, and they already know what their game plan is. So anything you can do to screw them up at the start is probably worth 10 times as much as screwing them up at the end. So one of the things I liked doing before was at the last and final platform, I would set up a bunch of different stuff to really make their life a living hell. Now I'm actually tweaking that around a little bit more so that they have to deal with more things on the front end rather than the back end, and hopefully give my base defenders more time to mobilize, and if there is a player defender that arrives, more time for them to get to work and get to business too. So here's one of the first strategies that I've seen, and this is what I like to call the 3 mine 1 camera setup. Okay, this mine is slightly out of place. I'm just going to grab that and inch it forward just a little bit. Perfectionist, what can I say? All right, so here's the idea, is that as the attacker is coming in, all right, normally from the right side, I think it's because most players are they're right-handed, and that part of the platform seems to be the fastest way to get into a platform. This idea here is to stop a player and make them think for just a moment how they're going to get past this. They could creep under the camera, but if they try, there's that very first mine right there. If they want to crawl past these mines, they're going to have to stop and possibly get caught by the camera. If they like doing the roll technique, which a lot of players do, again, they're also going to get caught by a mine. Now, this is very dependent upon two things. The person who came up with this particular setup, I don't know who thought of it first, but bless their heart, it's a good one. They cheese it by also putting a mine down there at the bottom of that ladder. Okay? I actually think that's a pretty good spot for a mine because it does then force a player to look for an alternative method. You want to make sure that these mines are close enough to the front of your platform that somebody can't just hop over the rail and shimmy past it. Okay? So you don't want to put it back near this secondary line. That would probably be a mistake. The other thing to keep in mind is that there is another strategy to get around it. And here's what this looks like, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pull this off, guys. This is a bit of acrobatic insanity that I'm just not good at. So here's something to think about. You may want to consider this idea, that attackers who are good against the 3 mine 1 camera setup can come to the edge of this box and dive roll out and catch or jump onto this ledge. I didn't even know I could fall onto that ledge like that. But they usually want to catch because this camera right here is something that they want to avoid. Now, with that in mind, you may want to consider, instead of having a mine down here for these ladders, you may want to consider actually putting a mine right where I have one, which is right there. Okay? Again, hopefully getting a good detonation, and that red light hopefully just far enough behind that ladder and that wall that they can't see it if they're coming up. Okay. Am I 100% sure that's going to work? Not a clue. But what I'm already trying to think of is that if there's a standardized version of attacking an FOB and a person who's really good at it and really keyed into doing the same things every single time for success, then as soon as they see these 3 red mines here, assuming that I'm going to have a 4th here and running around and trying the dive roll. Now here's another thing you could do. Instead of having that 4th mine down there under the bridge, you could just decide to place one right here on top of this box. Again, this isn't going to necessarily stop them from getting past it. Obviously, they could run back and come back down this ladder, but what it does do is it shakes them out of their game plan again. Anytime you're making a defender have to go right instead of left, having to take a little extra time past the timing of what they're used to, possibly bumping into a guard, possibly accidentally catching that camera, any one of those things that slows them down at the front end is going to screw with their head for the rest of the run and change the timing for everything else on your successive platforms. So guys, that is one of the more advanced tips I have for you today, is to think about base defense. So again, to recap, in our first video, we talked about the 3 places that you can be sure that an attacker is going to come, which are obviously his starting positions. You know for sure that they have to cross these bridges, so those become your natural choke points. And again, the last place that you know they're going to be aiming for is your core. So when you're thinking about defenses, think about those 3 places. Now, in today's video, we talked a little bit about the 3 mine, 1 camera setup and the most common ways that people get past it. If your mines are too far back, they can climb over the edge. If you don't have a mine down there at the bottom, they can crawl down the bottom and come up through that way, or they can come over to this box and try that crazy dive roll that I just did earlier. I don't even know how I pulled that sucker off. So be creative. You may even want to set up your platforms, to counter 1, 2, or all 3 of these. Unfortunately, per platform, you can only place up to 4 mines and 1 camera per platform. So the other thing I've done, I forgot to show you this. So another technique you may want to decide on using is defending the opposite end of the platform as well. And so instead of loading up all my defensive capabilities, my 2 cameras and my 8 mines on the back end of my base, I'm actually putting them in the front end and trying to shake a guy off his game early on. And make him have to work a lot harder. So the idea with the 3 mine setup here is that I'm trying to prevent a player from coming across and rolling straight through this, making them have to shoot and deal with it, or even better, have to climb over this edge and shimmy past it, which is eating up more time. And then the best part, I have a mine right there on those steps, so that when they do eventually have to drop, hopefully they drop down onto the mine. See where that is? Okay, because for whatever reason, they decided that you cannot go up. Now, obviously, I could just jump up, all right, which would then nullify it, but hopefully that's taken enough time, and you might have to run into that camera, okay? So again, it's just stopping, making people come out of their game a little bit, making them have to maybe go right instead of left, making them have to consider a new choice. Any one of those things on an experienced FOB attacker that shakes him out of his game is probably good. That's all I got for you today. This is already a pretty long video. I'm also going to look up some more online strategies and just see where people are placing them. But if you guys are interested in finding out for yourself, do Google searches. Find these things on YouTube. Check the Reddit listings. A lot of people there will also post their pictures, and they'll actually go platform to platform. I'm talking in generals. They're talking like specifically for your base development platform, you should have mines here. And you're like, all right, that sounds like a good idea. If a lot of people are invading that way, why not? But today I just wanted to talk over some general tips and tricks that you may want to consider using to go ahead and start cheesing your platforms and making your defense a little tighter. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like my channel and subscribe. If you have any questions or more comments, please put them in. I basically put this video together to help address one of the comments that came in earlier about ghosting, which actually showed me some of the methodology in my first video was a little bit off, and that's really helpful, guys. That helps improve everybody's game. So, looking forward to hearing from you guys, and we'll see you next time.